Using cooperative learning, classroom management. In this series of videos I'm exploring different aspects of cooperative learning. Previously I've explored the model, team building, introduced you to a number of structures, and in the most recent set of tutorials I've explored the 5 accepted critical elements of cooperative learning in physical education. In this next set of videos I'm exploring some ideas I've developed over the years that have helped me to introduce cooperative into new groups. I've already explored Lesson 0, team management and assessment. Today we're going to explore classroom management. Please remember, however, that while these videos are scripted, they are captured in one take with no editing, so maybe a little rough and ready. Classroom management. Spock of the Starship Enterprise infamously didn't say, "It's life, Jim, but not as we know it." That came from the song Star Trekking, which I can't recommend. However, on that vein, cooperative learning, which I can recommend, is group work, but not as we know it. Cooperative learning is a different approach to curriculum, teaching, learning and assessment, and as such needs to be approached differently. Many of the hints and tips already provided in these videos will help you with your approach, but every teacher has a care for classroom management, classroom behaviours and classroom discipline, and cooperative learning is something different and may change some or all of the systems already in place. This might be scary because, as Johnson & Johnson argued, teachers are continually told by administrators, colleagues, parents, teacher educators and the man and woman on the street in subtle and not so subtle ways that classroom control is the most important part of teaching. It isn't. But me saying that isn't going to change some people's minds nor remove the anxiety you may feel using cooperative learning for the first time. So here are a few tips, some borrowed in part from Johnson & Johnson's 1991 book, Learning Together and Alone, about managing a cooperative learning classroom. The Johnson brothers argued that the most frequent catalysts for disruption are 1. Disruptive, non-responsive and or unmotivated students. 2. Depressed, shy, lazy, isolated and or disliked students. And student-student conflict. Cooperative learning has been designed to create situations where the disruptive, isolated and disliked student is encouraged to become part of the team, and as is the non-responsive and shy student, or whichever grouping of those listed above you wish to put together. Your role eventually is going to be more about mediation than authority, as your aim is to pass that on to the group. Let's look at a few of the stereotypes. The lazy student is the social loafer who will allow the workhorse to do the bulk of the work. But this shouldn't be possible in cooperative learning, or if it is, then their lack of engagement and work should quickly be flagged up through the elements of positive independence and individual accountability. The socially isolated student will need your help, but there are strategies you can use. Firstly, ensure they have constructive teammates. Purposefully select other students to be members of their group who are supportive and collegiate. Secondly, ensure that resources have to be shared so that they have to get closer to other students to work and can't work in isolation. Thirdly, make promotive face-to-face interaction and small group and interpersonal skills important elements in their groups. The disruptive student will need help. They are used to their behaviour impacting on the whole class, and this is often what they want, but this is harder in smaller groups. There is far less centre for their attention. As with isolated students, ensure they have constructive teammates. Take some time to pre-train their group mates on how to deal with the student in question and then intervene when you feel you need to. You'll have to help the group and may need to coach the disruptive student on how to be collaborative as well. A student who must win, or the life or death competitor, will need some help in the cooperative learning classroom, as will the most able student who has won every race and been top of the class in every class. You have moved the goalposts, and while you still value the physical domain, they will need help seeing the other learning that is coming out of cooperative learning. In the first instance, keep winning to a minimum. Reward cooperation and involvement and not first place. You will need to help the students to see that winning isn't everything, but that there are other rewards to be gained. Student-student conflict may occur for a number of reasons, some of which may be because of things that happen outside of your classroom. Some examples of cooperative learning conflict may be because of power struggles or disagreements over workload, for example. The important thing is not to dwell on the cause but the solution. Review the critical elements with those concerned. Structure independence, for example, allocate roles and define outcomes, and/or increase the amount of group processing you use with the group to allow them to discuss this concerns as they arise rather than when they boil over. In summary, classroom management is often about pre-lesson and post-lesson decisions and planning. It's about how you select groups, support individuals and those who are now supporting and interacting with them. It takes time and it will go wrong. My advice is to start with your best class. Get your students set up, get your systems set up, and then try it with other classes. Start small, as I've said before, and don't try and run backwards before you can work forwards. That's it for now. I hope it's worth your time. For more content, please visit my blog at www.peprn.com. Thank you, and stay safe.